Hi there, my name's Shannon. I'm really excited to be here with you today as we're going to be talking a little bit about buyer personas and how they fit into your inbound marketing strategy. Now, if you've never heard of the phrase buyer persona before, don't worry because you're not alone. But being that you work in marketing, you've probably heard the phrase target audience. You know that for any product, there's someone who you have in your mind as the sort of ideal buyer of whatever your product may be. It doesn't matter if you are selling classes to a yoga studio, if you're selling the local grocery store, if you're selling cars. Whatever it is that you're trying to market out there and that you're trying to get people to come in and buy, you have sort of a picture in your mind of who that person may be. This could be a really thorough picture. You could know just about everything there is to know about them and their interests. It could be a little bit more of a broad picture. Maybe you haven't given too much thought into who you're trying to sell to. Rather, you're just in the mindset of, I want to sell to anyone. And that's a very normal mentality. But in this video, we're going to try to get a little bit away from that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can establish the identity of who the people are that we're trying to market to. So we're going to start out here by asking this question of why? Why do I have to build out a buyer persona? If I'm trying to sell a product, why can't I just try to sell it to everyone? Absolutely a valid question, and I'm going to give you a very hard answer, and it's not easy to say, but it's a lesson that we all have to learn at some point in marketing, and it's that you cannot appeal to everyone. Unless you're selling water or air, I can't think of any other product that every single person in the world is interested in. Can you? If you can, by all means, please leave me a comment in the section below because I'd like to buy some stock in that product. That being said, it's incredibly hard and maybe impossible to appeal to every single person. Your product meets some specific need for a buyer. If you are selling that yoga studio, then your product probably satisfies the goal of people who are looking to work out. And beyond just working out, maybe have some sort of overall wellness going on. If you're selling a car, what goal are you satisfying? Well, people need to get from their home to their work to pick up their kids at school. It's a basic transportation need. But you know what your product is. So what we're going to try to do is build out who is it that product is a best fit for. Absolutely, almost everyone needs a car, but if you can fine-tune specifically who your cars are a fit for, you're going to have a much better sort of turnout throughout your marketing strategy and a much better, I would say, conversion rate in being able to measure whether or not people are actually responding to your efforts. So moving on to our next question, we're actually going to get a little bit more in depth here on what a buyer persona actually is. Now, the most important thing to consider about a buyer persona is that even though it speaks to that end consumer, it really starts at the beginning with what your actual product is. Like I said, you know that your product has been developed to satisfy some goal, to make someone's life better, and you need to have a very thorough understanding of that product before you try to identify who should I market it to. So we're going to start by analyzing what it is that we want to sell. From there, we're going to start thinking about the motivations of our buyer. So beyond what is the product, what does the product satisfy? Is it the overall wellness? Is it the transportation need? Is it just giving someone a fast meal on their lunch break? Whatever it is, you need to start thinking about what are this person's motivations for coming into my store or going to my website. From there, we get into the real heart of the buyer persona. This is where we start to think specifically about who this person is. And we're not just pulling this out of thin air. I wish it were that easy, but it's really not. What we really need to do here is conduct research, look at our competition, and start thinking about who is the logical person to buy this product. A lot of brands out there tend to sort of come about for one purpose and evolve into something different. Think of something like Gatorade. Of course, Gatorade's sole purpose is what? For athletes. Right? But don't we also drink Gatorade when we're sick and we need electrolytes? We do. So that's an additional sort of, I guess, satisfied goal that one product is meeting. So remember that we want to start at the beginning and sort of move forward into what sorts of motivations and what sorts of people are consuming this product. Some components of our buyer persona are going to be absolutely their demographics. So how old are they? What is their income? Where do they live? How many kids do they have? Are they educated? We're also going to look at things like psychographics, which are a little bit harder to uncover. These are their real sort of personal details. This could be something like their sexual orientation, their faith, their favorite food. These are things that are a little bit harder to find, but imagine how much more you could fine-tune your communication and speak to them on a very specific and personable level if you did know those things. It goes without saying that if you customize something for someone, it's going to appeal to them more and they're going to be more sort of prone to respond to you. We also want to think about their goals, going back to these motivations. Not only do they want, transportation if they're buying a car, but they also probably are looking for things like safety and a reasonable payment and maybe a great sound system, maybe a moonroof. Those would change by person, right? If you got a family, you're looking for something different than that 30-year-old bachelor who just wants the fastest, nicest, flashiest car. And of course, those two different people absolutely are going to require different communications. So you absolutely need to understand their goals if you're going to speak to them and get them to actually listen to what you're trying to say to them. So what we're going to do now is actually use a business as an example, going through who some maybe typical standard buyer personas might be for a business. So we're going to be using a flower shop, and here we have my absolutely beautiful artwork. If you're interested in having me out to paint something for you, give me a call. I know it's absolutely astounding. So we're going to be using the flower shop, and what we're going to talk about is who might a flower shop sell to. And what you're going to find is that there are a whole lot of different people that a flower shop might sell to. And we're going to talk about how does that flower shop pick specifically who they should be targeting and speaking to. Who are they trying to fine-tune their communications, their social media, their website, all of these platforms that they have available to them. How are they going to utilize them to speak to specific people? So I'm going to slide over here, and what we can see here are some sample buyers for a flower shop. Now don't mistake these for buyer personas, because each one of these could have several buyer personas within them, and we're going to go over those. But what we're starting here on a surface level with is who are the potential buyers for a flower shop. Remember, this is going to go back to their motivations, starting here with their reasons for actually buying the flowers. So first up here we have funerals. Very sad, rest in peace, whoever you may be. Of course, we're not marketing to the dead person. We're marketing to someone who needs to buy flowers for a funeral. But if we were to break that down on an even more granular level, we start to see that that's actually a pretty diverse category. It could be someone who is say a funeral home director, and they do the flower packages for all funerals, therefore they maybe want to have some sort of partnership with a flower shop. So that persona would be a person of a specific age, of a specific income, obviously a specific occupation, but it's a very certain person. Outside of that, of course, we would have people who are looking to bring flowers to the memorial or the wake or the service, but they're just looking for like a bouquet or one single arrangement. Those people might be a little bit harder to break down, right? Because how can we actually tell who knows someone who has passed away recently? That's going to be a little bit harder. That persona might be a little bit more broad. Next up here we have weddings. Same as funerals, we could look at this from two sides. We can look at this from the side of the event planning, so whether it's a venue or say a bride working with her wedding planner or on her own, or also someone who's bringing flowers to a wedding or someone who is sending flowers to someone who just got married. Again, that second audience is going to be a little bit harder because if you think of people who know someone getting married, that's pretty broad, right? Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've got like 5 weddings to go to this summer. But if we were to target, say, those venues or those brides, of course, based on what sort of websites they're looking at, whether they're expressing interest in our business, we're going to be able to break that into a pretty specific age, demographic, psychographic. Their motivations are pretty clear as well. Next one here, Mother's Day. For Mother's Day, we're not going to target mothers, we're really going to target children. And I don't just mean young children, these could be 60-year-old children. But this is someone who has a mother who they're looking to say thank you to on Mother's Day. Again, this would be a pretty broad target here. Next up, get-wellers, people who are sending flowers to people in the hospital or people who just had a surgery. Absolutely, that is a huge market for a flower shop, very important. And finally here we have graduates, pretty straightforward. We know someone graduating high school, someone graduating college. We want to tell them congratulations. We may be their aunt or their uncle, we may be their grandparent, we may be their teacher, and we think that they were a really phenomenal student and we want to sort of tip our hat to them. But whoever we are, we're expressing some sort of pride in this graduate. Pretty broad target here because a lot of people know someone who's graduating. So going back here, looking through all of these sample buyers and thinking about who the potential buyer personas may be within each one of these categories, we see that even for someone like a local flower shop, there is a lot of opportunity out there to be selling to specific groups of people. That being said, not every group of people or not every buyer persona is going to be right for you. And sometimes an effective strategy is to map all of them out, and that helps us to see which ones we may not be able to satisfy the goals of as much as we would like to. to. From that, we can focus on the people whose goals we can satisfy. For example, if we are a very small flower shop and we specialize in single custom arrangements, maybe we don't want to be really marketing to that funeral home director because we don't really have the resources to be creating these giant altar arrangements 3 times a week. Instead, we want to focus on, let's say, the Mother's Day buyers who are coming to our website and are looking to see if we can put something really unique and specific and very special together for their mother this Mother's Day. So thinking about these personas and choosing which one is right, remember that sometimes we have to go back to the start and we have to be honest about what our actual product is, what our capabilities are, and sometimes what our limits are in terms of what we are able to sell. For an example of a company that did a really cool thing with buyer personas, look up Best Buy. Just Google Best Buy buyer personas. They did something pretty cool. I think it was around 2008. They actually started redesigning their stores based around 4 personas. Their names were Judy, Buzz, Randy, and I can't remember the 4th one, but it was another male persona. But if you look that up, you'll see how a business actually utilized 4 specific personas to really fine-tune, if you think about it, all the way down to their product. And then also their marketing, of course, their presentation and how they were getting people into specific stores. But that's a really great example of a company that really put buyer personas into action, and in my opinion, a pretty cool sort of case study. So with that, we are going to wrap this up for today. I've had a great time chatting with you, and I would really encourage you to converse with me in the comments below. I would love to hear from you in terms of if you have questions about buyer personas, if you're sort of a veteran who has had a lot of experience with buyer personas and you have a little bit of insight into how to craft a buyer persona. How do you pick the name of a buyer persona if you want to assign a name to them? Things like that. I would love to hear from you, and I know the rest of the community would as well. With that, I will say goodbye. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.